Hey everyone, it's Miss Kellett, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about character analysis paragraphs. So, just to remind you, we analyze characters so that we can understand stories and we can connect with people who are maybe different than ourselves or who have different experiences than ourselves, or to kind of understand what other people do or how other people act when they're in situations that are similar to ours. So we understand characters in order to see why they make certain choices in certain situations, and that can help us to understand patterns in the way that humans behave, which is basically what a greater meaning is. Okay, so again, an analysis paragraph is breaking down a text into its parts and explaining each part and then taking those individual details and putting them together to create a bigger picture. So you're going to be writing a paragraph about a character's traits based on style. So you can look at their speech, their thoughts, the effect they have on others, actions, and looks. And then here are some tools that you can use for your character analysis paragraph. So rubric, drafting template, and sample paragraph. There's another video going over the drafting template and sample paragraph, but right now I'm going to take a look at the rubric with you. So this is the rubric for the character analysis paragraph. And you'll see that there are three standards or three grades that your paragraph will receive. So the first one is character trait and evidence. So in order to get an A in this category, we need to make sure we select a character trait specifically and accurately. Selected character trait is specifically and accurately chosen. Okay, and then the selected character trait is clearly supported by the selected quotation. So you are picking a quotation from the text, and the quotation should clearly be related to the character trait that you have chosen for the character you are analyzing. Now remember that a character trait is different than an emotion, right? So a trait is personality, it's with them all the time, and emotion is kind of like what a character is feeling in the moment. A lot of the times, if your paragraph receives a C in this category, it's because you're explaining an emotion instead of a trait. So make sure to go back and look at our character notes if you're confused about the difference. Okay, the next thing that your paragraph will be graded on is clear analysis. So again, analysis is really explaining the different parts of the evidence and connecting those parts of the evidence back to your main idea, which in this case, your main idea is going to be your character trait. So evidence is thoroughly explained and fully supports the student's assertion of the character trait. So that means that you are thoroughly and very clearly, step by step, explaining how the evidence connects to and supports the character trait that you've chosen. Okay, and then the second part says, in their analysis, student analyzes specific word choice made by author and explains in detail how they connect to the trait. So that means that you are going back to your quotation that you picked. You're choosing smaller phrases and you are putting those phrases again in your analysis in order to really show how the different parts of the quotation that you've chosen connect to the character trait in this case. So you are going through and talking about specific word choice. If you take a look at the sample paragraph, which is on Google Classroom, you'll see that we do this with the word hopelessly. We talk about how since George seems to be hopeless, he is maybe not convinced that Lenny will ever understand how careful he needs to be, but he continues to come back and try over and over again, right? He's reminding Lenny of the dangers of the green pool of water, even though he feels hopeless, which shows us that he is responsible, right? He's going to continue to do his part even when it seems like it might not be worth it. Okay, so we're looking at specific word choice from the quote and how that is connected to the character trait. And then finally, the third thing that your paragraph will be graded on is academic language and grammar. So writing demonstrates fluency using at least three words such as the following: demonstrates, reveals, indicates, suggests, and portrays. Okay, so you'll notice that the word shows is missing, right? So the word shows, like this evidence shows that George is responsible. We're gonna try to use other words besides shows just to mix up our writing a little bit and to use some more advanced vocabulary. So all of these words can mostly be substituted for the word shows, but they all mean something a tiny bit different. So you may need to Google these words and look for examples of how they're used in other texts. And they're also used in the sample paragraph. So you can go look at the sample paragraph to see how they're used. And then finally, analysis sentences clearly utilize cause and effect language with words such as the following, without too much repetition. Because, due to, since, and when. Sentence structure is varied. So when you're using analysis, when you are analyzing something, you kind of have to show this cause and effect relationship, right? Because George says this thing, it shows or it demonstrates this other thing, right? So these are some words that can kind of help us to show the relationship between two ideas. So you want to try to use some of these words here in your writing as well. So if you use most of the words listed here well, and there's a lot of variation, then that gives you an A in the academic language and grammar section. So make sure that you take a look at this rubric in detail. And I recommend that once you've written your paragraph, you go back, look at the rubric, and give your own paragraph a grade to see how you can improve. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this helps.